Cherokee sculpting, particularly wood and stone carving, has a rich history rooted in pre-European times. Traditions passed down through generations encompass various forms like masks, gorgets, and furniture, and they continue to be practiced today as more decorative art. Osionagad Jen Lauren Dawado, Noksi Chalagi Gadi. Welcome to Chalagi wherever we are. Contemporary Cherokee artists continue to create using modern materials and processes enriched by the culture and lifeways, perpetuating sculpting from one generation to the next. Today, you will meet four such artists. We'll start today's show with remarks from Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr. Then Chief Hoskin will join me here for a little Q&A. After that, Deputy Chief Brian Warner will visit Cherokee National Treasures and father and son, Bill and Demas Glass. Next, I will be joined in the studio by two more renowned Cherokee National Treasures, Eddie Morrison and Troy Jackson. And finally, we are excited to have Miss Kaylin Fay, an outstanding Cherokee musician. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and Principal Chief, Chuck Hoskin Jr., for his remarks.
Osio, sculpture holds a vital place in the Cherokee Nation's culture, serving as both an artistic reflection of our traditions and a way to uplift our communities. For generations, our artisans have shaped wood, stone, clay, and metal into forms that tell our stories, honoring the legacy of those who came before us while also enhancing the landscape's natural beauty. These works are living expressions of our identity. Each carved piece, whether a small figure or a large monument, carries meaning. These works speak to our struggles and resiliency, as well as our hopes and triumphs. Through sculpture, our master makers pass on our cultural knowledge and values to future generations and foster Cherokee pride. Through the Artist Recovery Act and investment in communities across the Cherokee Nation reservation, public installations are becoming more prominent and more accessible to all citizens. They're permanent artistic reminders of our shared joy. For the artists, sculpting is an act of creation and bringing an idea to life. And for us, the public, we get to appreciate the creative spirit and the story the art tells. Sculpture provides a way for some of our most creative Cherokees to inspire us and connect us with our culture. We hope you enjoy learning more from our master artist, Widow.
Wado Chief, I am so inspired by Cherokee sculptors, and so I'd love to just chat a little bit more about this. And so, from your perspective, how do you think sculpture helps strengthen our Cherokee Nation cultural identity?
Well, like all of the great art forms and mediums out there that our great artists are involved in, sculpture helps remind us where we came from. So you can tell stories in sculpture. You can talk about the future. You can talk about what's going on now. It's really unlimited. But I think for many people, it's accessible and interesting in a way that maybe other forms of art is not. And so we're talking about 3D art. You can sort
Yeah.
of look all around it. And in some cases, sculptures are huge pieces and they sort of are literally monumental. And I think it gives us some pride just seeing those pieces, particularly when we're talking about public art. So I think it's a great way to express Cherokee culture. And we've got a lot of great people doing it.
Yeah, like the cultural pathway in Tahlequah, those sculptures are really impactful when you're walking through there.
They really are. They help tell a story, and they help add, I think, immeasurably to a community. So the sculptures in and of themselves tell a story, but just their presence can be part of an environment that makes people feel like this is Cherokee, and then they can explore all that that is.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, in your opinion, what is the future of sculpture and more largely public art in the Cherokee Nation?
Well, I think the future is bright. Most importantly, we have a lot of wonderful artists and a lot up and coming, but also we're crafting policy that helps support that. And so the Artist Recovery Act, which we've talked about on this show before, helps fund art. including sculptures, helps fund classes where people can learn the art form. And people love just to see sculptures created. I'm thinking of times when I've seen Eddie Morrison set up
Yeah.
somewhere, and people are just attracted to watch him carve something beautiful. But the future is more Eddie Morrisons, more young people who want to get into this. And there's some great opportunities coming up. I mean, we've got a call for art for a Freedman Monument on our courthouse square. That's going to
Awesome.
involve some sculpture. A really exciting one, though, is a Wilma Mankiller sculpture that will be at the Wilma Mankiller Park. I think we're going to see more of that in part because we've got the artist, in part because we've got the funding, and in part because we've got public places that need to be filled with great art, including sculptures. So I think the future is very bright.
Oh, that's very exciting to hear. All right. Well, thank you so much for your continued insights in all things Cherokee and your leadership. We appreciate it.
What else?
And now we go to Deputy Chief Brian Warner, who is at the studio of Father and Son National Treasures sculptors Bill and Demas Glass. Deputy Chief?
Hello, Jen. OCO Nagad. Hello, everyone. Here we are today with another episode of Cherokees Wherever We Are. We are situated today in the capital city of Tahlequah here at the Cherokee Nation History Museum. I've got the Glass family with me. I got Bill. I've got Demas. We've got a lot to talk about, all about sculptures. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here with me today, and thank you for traveling and meeting us here. Both of you gentlemen are notable for many different pieces, but a lot of different things you guys have worked together. And public art has been one of those spaces. Tell me, Bill, we'll start with you. How did you both get going in public art?
Our first initial project in public art was the deal in Chattanooga. We finished it in 2005. That was the very first one, and it involved syllabary, and clay work, and Demas did metal work. We had sculptors and painter guy. He did a wall of stickball figures.
Right.
It was a big installment. It was a point of embarkment for the Trail of Tears, Ross's Landing. So that it's called the Passage. That was our start.
Well, and Demas, I know I've followed you quite often, and I know there's some of your works, whether we're talking about at at one of our healthcare facilities, and then this facility. I see a lot of I see Miss Cherokee and Junior Miss Cherokee a lot, so they often carry that Glass family tradition with them. Demas, tell me, how'd you get started in doing a lot of this?
Actually, my grandfather was doing metalsmithing after he retired, BIA. He had been a welder and things, so he picked it up a little bit more, and so that I'd seen it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good opportunity to learn in his shop, but at the time I was in school at university, and I kind of figured out that, I didn't know art would be a tough road, I knew, but I figured that was where my talents were, and I seen, I wasn't really enrolled in art classes at the time, but then I would sneak over there and check everything out, and I was like, well, if I'm spending so much time over here, I might as well, that must be my passion. So once I started that, I just got exposed to a few different things. He and I would talk on the phone, and I'd tell him what I've been up to, and he's like, yeah, check that out, that'd be a good one. If you get to where you can do some structural or fabrication techniques, maybe you could come back and we could collaborate, and then we could put a new twist on it. Once we started applying that became a very unique between ceramics and metal. Sometimes I don't really think that it's two like type personalities. If it wouldn't been for us being having a team, and working it out, I really don't see the ceramics and the metal as a combination. So that's a good uniqueness.
Yeah, that leads me into my next question. You look at traditional Cherokee art, you look at a contemporary expression. How are you all going about putting these two together? And you mentioned two different types of medium. How do you start to merge these two when a piece comes together in your mind?
By Demas being a metals guy, and I'm a ceramist. I was always limited to what I could do was the size of my kiln. But when he got involved, he was able to build armature structures with metal, and then I was able to insert ceramics into the framework that he was building, and now our scale can be really about any size, you know, and it's just opened up so many other doors of thought that we could think about powder coating, you know, and see, that'd be a contemporary thing,
Right.
powder coating and welded steel, and I mean, here I was limited to my kiln, you know.
Right.
Now I got to think really big,
You bet.
and by us collaborating and hashing out concepts, that's when we really, I think, was the boost that we needed.
You mentioned your grandfather, but how about your grandmother? Did she play a role in some of this?
Yes, Grandma was good. She would always sit around the table, and we would get out a big box of supplies, and we would make cards and do things like that. It was a fun evening when I would sit around the table with my grandma.
That's where all of it really happens. You know, I always tell everybody, you know, you go to many boardrooms and different things, but the kitchen table where things really happen in the Cherokee world. When did all these large size type sculptures and things start to come to play for both of you guys?
Yeah, I think probably after the Chattanooga job we did, then we just seemed like we took off, and we did a 46-foot oil derrick tower that we put art on. Man, that was a job. They couldn't hardly haul that thing to the site with the trailer.
Yeah.
We got stopped by the highway patrol.
Yeah.
And then we did the BOK arena in Tulsa, the big arena. We worked with Cesar Paley was the architect, and we did 4 floor medallions, terrazzo floor medallions. Then we did the FAM, and that has almost becoming like an icon, you know, for the state even.
Yeah.
So that's luck again. The creator's with us, I think. So, you know, he loves artists, I think.
Yeah, no, I feel it when you're talking. I get those same sparks that we know. I know your art speaks to you, but what are you wanting it to speak to other generations and kids, and so that we can all continue to do great things together?
Well, right now, Demas is teaching a class over here at the Cherokee Art Center, and you know, he's spreading what he knows with copper jewelry, and I'm teaching a little class at my studio. We're not really ambassadors, but we're preserving our culture by doing these things, especially in a museum like this, where this is probably going to last a long time because this is a museum and it's being taken care of properly. And this is a story of the Turtle Island migration right here in this building. And you can almost understand the story visually instead of having to read it. You can visually accept it in your mind, and that's just as easy way to learn as reading. To me, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And longer term memory, I think, even
Right.
embeds in your brain.
I agree. Demas, I'll start with you. Tell me, all right, so I know you work with a lot of metals and different things. Your dad's a ceramic guy. Tell me, what's the favorite thing that your father does that you see in that art out there?
I really like the way that he has studied from the old pieces of literature that he could find, and then come up with a new expression of that, you know, so then it makes it his own. You know, that's, I look at his art pretty thoroughly. I get a first-hand chance to look at most of it whenever it's around the shop and things like that, and I see the way he developed his lines and his different little pieces. Then I'll be looking through some of the literature and some of the archaeological findings that they have published throughout the years, and I realize, oh, that's stylized from this little segment and little things like that. That taught me a lot, because see, that makes it to where it's his own creation. And you know, it's paying the respect to obviously our past, you know, but then also it's come out with a nice contemporary, but also it's just meshed really well.
Yeah. Well, Bill, I know you and I, we've talked in the past. I know you're proud of your family, proud of your heritage, your culture, proud of your son. Tell me something that you see Demas. What's some of the favorite things for you that he puts out there?
He can build any scale. Size doesn't scare him. That's pretty cool
Yeah, yeah,
to be able to, then you can think really big. You know, your brain gets to really be used a lot, and you can think really big into ideas because, man, he can, well, we built that one 46 feet tall. That's pretty dang good.
the Highway Patrol won't forget that one, will they?
Yeah, yeah. And then these big old medallions we do, and we got a 24-footer sitting in our studio that we're working on. That's gonna be cool. I mean, size doesn't bother at all.
Right.
And I think that's pretty remarkable.
That is remarkable. Well, any last words either of you have for the audience?
Once you get into a project that you might dream up something a little bit bigger than you understand how to accomplish. So as you get going into these things, they sometimes can be, it almost turns into a bit of production team. So I mean, that's where really the community of the people and the fellowship of the different craftsmen in the community, you can pull from where there's talent. We have to rely on the talented people in the community as well. So I mean, that's a big portion of this, is just being able to work together and figure out how to get something beyond, you know, it takes a team.
Absolutely. Bill?
Well, I'd like to say for the younger artists coming up, it's a struggle, you know. It's tough to be an artist. It's really tough. And it's, even then you get old, it's still tough. So hang in there. And the tribe's starting to have some art shows now. I mean, they got the Trail of Tears show, they got the Homecoming show, they got the Holiday show, the Cherokee Art Market. And that's a good chance, you know, for them to participate and sell their stuff. And we need the support of the public too. We need collectors.
You bet.
So
Absolutely. Well, too, and I think it's awesome when you look at legislatively how they've legislated in a certain percentage of our capital projects, whether it be a healthcare center, a child development center. We get to utilize our artists and skills to not just decorate those places. It's more than decoration. It tells a story of that area, and it's a part of that individual. So I want to thank you both again today. Very good conversation with two great men, and I know you both are anchored by a good lady at home, Bill, your wife, Demas, your mother, and so when y'all see her, tell her I said hello. And well, Jen, we remember we're all Cherokees wherever we are. So back to you in the studio, and what don't, everyone.
Well, no, Deputy Chief Warner. Well, I'm now joined by two more such artists, national treasures Eddie Morrison and Troy Jackson. CO gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
you.
Well, let's dive right into it. We'll start with you, Mr. Morrison. You carve both wood and stone. We have some examples here on the table of your work. Would you please share with us how you came to be an artist, in sculpting specifically, and why you chose your mediums?
Well, when I was growing up, there was a lot of people doing things with their hands around the house, and I think it's just in your DNA to do something like what you chose to do. I started out as a painter, and I did pretty good with it. I had some pieces get into Philbrook in the early days,
Wow.
and in Kansas City is some of my paintings, but I just never felt like it was natural. I kind of struggled with it, and once I picked up a piece of wood and started carving on that, that's what I wanted to do. And so I've been a sculptor ever since. I started out just doing wood carving and wood sculpture, but I wanted to do stone, so I started carving stone. And then I took the Art Student League of Denver had a class they had every year, and they had this infamous Apache sculptor named Alan Hauser.
Pretty famous, yeah.
And I saved my $400 and paid to go have him teach me how to carve marble. So
Incredible.
ever since, and I like to think that I've had a pretty good success with it all. So I'm happy I chose it anyway. I love doing it.
Oh, awesome. Well, yes, we love your work. We love seeing you at all of the art markets and things as well. Um, so I wanted to ask Mr. Jackson, what inspired you to become a sculptor and where do you find your inspiration?
Hmm. Well, I base my life on two things, God and family. And so everything that I do revolves around those two priorities. Like Eddie, I started uh, painting. I wasn't aware that you had started painting, but that's where I started at Bacone College in Muskogee. And I remember seeing a lot of the famous artists today that were in there, Dick West, Solomon McCombs, their work, and some even some of Johnny Tiger's. But anyway, I seen some of their work, and next thing I know, I mean, that's what I wanted to do was paint, and I did. I painted for years until my undergraduate work at Northeastern, and that's where I got introduced to pottery,
Hmm.
and I liked working with my hands more, and so that became my field was pottery. And through the years, after I finished um, my master's degree at the University of Arkansas, I started moving my my pottery pieces became very sculptural.
Uh-huh.
And I remember some of the instructors would say, is it pottery or is it sculpture? So I just got I just put two and two together and started doing sculptures, and actually things started happening for me. I had tried for years um, to win a prize at the Trail of Tears there in Tahlequah, and I just remembered, if I could win that, if I could, then I could have some confirmation that that I was doing pretty good,
Uh-huh.
and so I kept trying. But when I put a sculpture piece together, in 2011 and won the grand prize, then that just made all so it's sculpture from then on.
Wow. Cool story. Your clay sculptures are known for their almost frenetic, very intricate designs, and they convey like really powerful emotions as well. So, can you tell us how do you begin a design? And do you start with a pattern in mind, a shape, an overall, or something else?
Well, I believe that every image that I've done, I've seen it,
Uh huh.
looking through books, looking through museums, and so all these images are gathering, inside of me, and lo and behold, I'll see something, and that's what I have to put to. I'll put to clay or steel or whatever media I'm working in. Uh, Now, as far as sketching or anything like that, I will sketch that out in my head for size relationship
Yeah.
because I have to, they have to be a certain size to fit in the kiln. They have to be a certain size to even pick up. So
I should
that's
point out we have one of your pieces here. So,
yes.
as you're speaking of this, some of the pieces are really large, and then you have some smaller pieces. They're really beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So Eddie, I've seen many different subject matters in your works. However, your designs typically seem to have a bear or a person. What is your motivating message in those forms?
Well, the Cherokees have a story of the bears. There's some of the bears that were actually part of our people. And the story goes that they took off and went on into the woods and became bears and always told us we could take the bears for food or clothing or whatever. So I kind of just, when I do a bear, I think about that story a lot. And I have been very successful with my bears, I think, that I know about it. So it's a good story. And if you get a chance to look it up, you might look it up and read it.
It is a great story.
Yeah.
Yes. So I wanted to ask, so you brought some of your smaller pieces here, but you don't always do smaller pieces. Is that right?
No, I've been pretty fortunate. I've had some big commissions, and I have had bigger work
Yeah.
go all over the country and everything. And just recently, back last July, I had a large commission of life size, three life size, a mother, a father, and a child. That was uh, put up in St. Louis, and I was pretty honored for that. And so I've got big pieces everywhere, I guess.
One of the things when I interviewed you for your OCO TV story that I thought was real interesting that you talked about was that a lot of times the rock or the stone or the wood kind of tells you how you're going to shape it. Can you is that right? Can you explain that?
I think I like to, I, unlike Troy probably, I think about it, and I'll get the stone first or the piece of wood, and they have natural lines in them. And my work's kind of impressionistic anyway, and I use that. I just go with the natural lines in the stone. And I use a lot of old limestone fence posts, which have a lot of fossils in it. And I like to make sure some of those are showing too, because I mean that's part of the life of that stone. And when I get through with it, it's been very unique piece. I mean, it makes a very unique
It
piece.
does. I noticed a little fossil on the front of
Yeah.
this one here. That's really neat.
And as far as the cedar wood goes, it's very suggestive as to what you're going to make out of it. You just go with the flow of it. It's not a real exotic wood, but it is a very beautiful wood, and I've done well with it, and it's taught me well.
Great.
I mean, I don't know about Troy, but my art has taken me all over the country, and I'm pretty blessed by having been able to do it.
Okay, one last question for you both. What can you share with the aspiring young Cherokee artists on how to get started sculpting and dealing with motivation and perhaps even rejection? We'll start with you, Troy.
Well, I could tell them of what not to do.
Okay, that's good advice
and
also.
that can be encouraging. One of the problems that I see, and I dealt with myself, was that um, to think that you have all the time in the world, especially when you're young, like you think that it's never going to come to an end. But as you get older, you realize that there's a half truth that says that it's never too late. But at the same time, it's never too late to do anything. But at the same time, it is too late because sometimes your hands don't work like they used to. Your eyes don't, they start going out on you. So what you want to do is to just grab hold. If you're going to be an artist, you just want to grab hold and do it while you're young and never give up. I think that the main objective for me would be to encourage young artists to be persistent, have a passion, develop a passion, and then set a commitment that they will follow through. And I think those are the three important aspects to it.
A commitment that you will follow through.
You will follow.
Absolutely. Okay. How about you?
And I agree with Troy on that part too, because it's not easy, and when you first start out, it's pretty. You can get discouraged very easily. It's just like riding a roller coaster. You can go up, be on top for a while, then all of a sudden you're back down here begging for money, and then you go back. But you just got to stay after it. You can't quit. I've known a lot of very great, good artists that are no longer doing art because they didn't have the persistence to stay stick with it. And if you have to work a day job to do it or whatever, you go get you a job and the great support of your family too that keeps you going. And if you're going to be an artist and you really have the passion to do it, you're going to do it. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it because it's going to be inside you wanting to come out. So,
Nothing's going to stop you.
right.
All right. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your art with us and for speaking with us. I feel very lucky to get to sit down and speak with you again. We appreciate you.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Mhm. And finally, we have a special treat for you. Our good friend, the talented Miss Kaylin Faye, is in studio. Enjoy.
thought you were an angel, hidden by some radio signal. And as the music started on, I was humming along, caught up in a feeling, not a song. Ooh, Lacey. Ooh, Lacey. And I felt you in the leaves, carried on by a southern breeze, and through the cedar and the oaks, over hills and valleys cloaked, between the embers and the smoke. Ooh, Lacey. Ooh, Lacey. And I know you in the sun, in the light of day, in the hope of what's to come, and in the moon before I wake, in the shape my dreams do take, gentle as a warm embrace. Ooh, Lacey. Ooh, Lacey. Ooh, Lacey. Ooh, Lacey. And I thought you were an angel, hidden by some radio signal.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kaylin. Cherokee sculpting is essential to our culture and language, acting as a way to pass down traditions and stories from generation to generation. We hope you have enjoyed hearing from our artists about how their work is created, but also how this tradition has shaped them in return. Cherokees have no word for goodbye. We say, Dodadago Huntye, until we see each other again. Wado.